breaking down all the plays and getting you in the action. We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into Season 2, Episode number 16 here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. We are completely wrapping up the 2023 high school football season and fully going into the 2023 high school basketball season here on this week's episode. So let's go ahead and get it started off real fast. Justin, why don't you tell me the thing you are most excited for this 2023-24 high school basketball season?
Well, we talked about the realignment at the beginning of the fall sports season. So realignment continues to apply to each and every season here in year one, with Catholic schools going to the Detroit Catholic League, and with the two divisions within the Northern Lakes League, the Buckeye and the divisions, I should say, the Buckeye and the Cardinal. So seeing how those teams adjust to the new conference and or non-conference schedule is what I'm looking forward to. And then which of our stars shines brightest. We are carrying over our top recruit segment from football into basketball. So 5 boys, 5 girls. Just to list them off, will feature over the course of 10 weeks, starting in December through February 16th. Naira Clark, Micah Bays, Jalen Murphy, Destiny Robinson, Isaiah Brenneman, Brooklyn Vaughn, CJ Majors, Sinai Douglas, who is now out with a torn ACL, but still going to be going to Michigan State University on a full scholarship, Antoine West, and Kendall Braden. So some of the Division I, in some cases of the players that I mentioned there, maybe Division II type talents, who kind of gets them farthest along when it comes to their league, conference, and or playoff run.
I like it. It's going to be really interesting to pay attention to this season. So excited for that. Mike Rob, what are you most excited for?
You talked about the league realignment. Those are the things that I'm looking at too. How St. John's going to do after that magical run they had last season, bouncing back, replacing some of their top players. But, Jalen Brown, at Emmanuel Christian, this is a kid that I'm looking forward to seeing him and Nate Miles and seeing how they battle back, without their top guy and the new coaching staff. Obviously, they're playing really well right now, and those are some teams that I'm looking at now.
All right, I like it. Well, coming up on today's show, we got a ton to talk about. I mentioned we're going to wrap up the 2023 high school football season with the Division III state championship that happened last Friday. We've also got twin sisters winning the Player of the Week on the court this week. We got a hockey thriller to take a look at. This is a mainly basketball podcast moving forward through the basketball season. We got to give some love to the ice this week with a crazy play that happened this past week. We've also got our Game of the Week preview and so much more coming up on today's show. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you stay tuned. And also, make sure you stay tuned each and every week to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. on BCSN. And make sure you listen to us throughout the week on our audio podcast platforms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and always on bcsnnation.com/podcast. And if you don't want to miss out on any of the content the BCSN is putting together on Sports Nightly and elsewhere, make sure you follow us on our social media. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at BCSN Sports for daily content. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's recap and wrap up the 2023 high school football season as Central Catholic, the Fighting Irish, came away with the Division III state championship. First time going back-to-back for the program. This was a fantastic game to watch last week. It was live on BCSN Friday at 3 p.m. Central Catholic was down 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. But after that, they scored 27 unanswered, Justin, to come away with that win. It was a really gritty defensive battle in that first half, and then after that, Central Catholic just came away with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of been their mode of operation through a few games throughout the playoffs. They got down 10-0 to Mansfield Senior, ripped off 41 straight, not that same point total this time around the state title game against Bishop Watterson out of Columbus, but still just a valiant effort across the board. They put up 318 yards to Watterson's just 139. Their quarterback came in playing really well, AJ McAninch, and he was averaging more than 200 yards passing per game. They locked him down, picked him off twice. Victor Singleton got one of them and kind of sealed the deal late there. But the biggest thing was rushing. In these big games, especially in weather, there's a little bit of rain, some precipitation in that game. So you're going to want to run the ball and run it effectively and then stop the run. So here you go. 247 yards rushing on 51 carries for Central Catholic. And then they stopped the run. How about -6 yards rushing? -6 yards rushing. Obviously, some sacks played a role in that. He was sacked 4 times, was Bishop Watterson's quarterback. So that's the name of the game. However, Coach Dempsey told me after the game on the field, he said, this game was a lot closer than the 27-7 score because Central Catholic capitalized on Bishop Watterson mistakes. 2 on special teams. They dropped a punt, dropped a snap on a punt, and then they had that interception that they scored 3 touchdowns on. So that was the clear-cut difference in the game, capitalizing on those mistakes. But that's how you also win games anytime in any sport, and that's what happened with Central Catholic. They now have 5 under Coach Greg Dempsey, 6 overall dating back to 1962 prior to the current playoff system.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you summed it up pretty well there, Justin, because Dempsey is still acting like he's got a game this week and being really modest. Like, hey, I don't even know how we're going to get through the end of this weekend because it's a tough opponent. The weather's going to be cold out there. You don't know. Dempsey's always like that, in the face of winning 30 games and 2 state championships and now the expectations are still there. He has to kind of find a way to battle back and go do it for a 3rd time because that's the only thing left to do. So kudos to Central Catholic and what they're doing.
How do they do that moving forward?
They're already working on it. I can guarantee you that. When we won a state championship, when I won over there with Central twice, the first thing you do is the next day, you just go and watch the JV film. You watch the freshman film, and you say, okay, who are we replacing? Who are you replacing this? And you start the process. So it's already in the process. I can guarantee you Central Catholic's ready. And Kevin Arnold and that secondary is going to be extremely good next year.
All right. Now, I mean, the thing that stood out to me when looking at the playoffs for Central Catholic here, Justin, you already alluded to it a little bit there. In the last 4 games, after the first quarter, Central Catholic not allowing any points in these games. I mean, just a suffocating defense, making adjustments.
Well, it's Ryan Brown. He is probably if anything, and Central Catholic don't want to hear it, but if I'm going to hire a head football coach, that's the guy I'm going after. I'm going with the Brinks truck. I'm pulling up to his house, and I'm saying, hey, hop in, let's take you over here, and let's rebuild this program because you can't have a program without a great defensive coach. And we've seen as many points as a lot of coaches and teams give up year in, year out. Central Catholic don't give up points because they got a great defensive coordinator over there, and he does an excellent job. But also they had a kid named Michael Cannings for the past 4 years who's been a dominant force up front, giving everybody fits.
Yeah, they've been great. I mean, Ryan Brown, I believe he's been there for 15 years.
Yeah.
Was he there when you in a lesser role, not as the coordinator when you were there?
Yeah, we were both assistant coaches. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, he has ascended up the ranks and earned everything that he's gotten. And, I mean, year after year after year, he delivers. I don't know him personally. I am kind of curious because it's not like this is the first year Central Catholic has had a great defense. Kind of how come he hasn't had his door knocked on before, or maybe he has and it just hasn't been the right fit, or maybe it's his choice. Again, I don't have any firsthand knowledge with that. I'm just kind of curious. You might be able to shed some light on it too.
I would think that he's just the second coming of Greg Dempsey. I mean, he played on the 05 state championship team,
right?
And he's won them all as a coach. So he is Central Catholic through and throughout, from player to coach. I think he just loves that program, and he is probably the heir apparent to be the next head coach there.
Gotcha. Fair enough. That makes more sense to me now.
So that's why I said you got to bring the Brinks truck.
That's
You got to bring the Brinks truck if you don't get that man.
Correct. But yeah, they have just been fun to watch.
Yes.
And you can say what you want in regards to, okay, they get the best players. You can say that. Well, there's reasoning behind that is because they've had year after year after year after success. You can bring in the recruiting deal. You can say, oh, they went from Division II to Division III. It was a lot easier. Yes, I get it, but they take everybody's best shot.
Yep.
And they play quality opponents. And even last year when they were in Division II, they played top-tier talent. They admitted that the state semis and finals were more difficult last year, Kings Mill Kings and then Akron Hoban compared to this year where it was Chardon and Bishop Watterson. But they beat them all.
Yeah.
They continue. They line them up and you figure out a way to beat the other team, and they've answered the bell each and every time. And to connect it with some of our adult viewers, do we bring A-level podcast each and every week? We'd like to think so. But to do it 15 times in a row can be difficult. We're not always going to be on our A game.
Yeah.
And whether that's this industry or engineering or teaching or whatever the case may be, you find a way to get the job done, and that is what the talent at Central Catholic has done from freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, and then the coaching staff as well. So hats off to them for answering the bell each and every time and ganging up when it kind of gets routine and you could slip.
Yep.
They haven't.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure to watch Central Catholic this season. Mike Robb called it all the way back at the very beginning of the season that they were going to run it back, and that's what they did. Congratulations to Central Catholic for coming away with the Division III state championship this year. We're ready for next year's football season. All right, let's jump into the basketball season now. We're underway here in the 2023-24 high school basketball season. Let's start it off with our player of the week. All right, welcome into our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. This poll goes live every single Friday at 10:30 p.m. on Twitter and runs through Monday at noon. You can vote, have your voice heard in the Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. And this week, heading out to Anthony Wayne for the twin sisters Leah and Mallory Pike. Man, Anthony Wayne got the big 73-33 win over Fremont Ross last week, and the twin sisters combined for 29 points in that big win. They told BCSN that they have kind of an advantage being twins, being able to communicate in their own special kind of way, being sisters, and a little bit different than the rest of the team. So a really, really interesting thing able to do there. But Justin, what do we see out of these two players this past week?
Well, they're going to have to split the gift card.
Yes. They mentioned they share everything. So here it is.
They're going to have to get a big meal and split it. Can I have 2 plates, please? No, that's good stuff. The fact that there's multiple twins on these teams, because you got the Elise and Brooke Bender also on it. So advantages there for Coach Jamie Carter. But yeah, of course it's a benefit in the sense of they've been on the same teams. They know, okay, when one of them's going to do a back cut or whatever type of communication you have during a game or on the sidelines in any team huddles or pregame warmups, all that kind of stuff applies. And when you've been playing together, continuity and chemistry are huge in sports, especially in basketball with only 5 players on the court at one time for one team. Tremendously beneficial because they've been together since they were crying out loud, since they were in the womb, but then playing on sports teams through grade school and junior high and now at Anthony Wayne. But this is going to be a good team, and I think they got a lot to prove this year. A couple seasons ago, they went on that state tournament run during the freshman season for the Bender sisters. So I think they want to prove that they are a top-tier team, not only in their division, not only in their league, but also in Northwest Ohio, and represent them because they'll test themselves. They've had some battles already against some non-conference opponents from teams around the state, and they'll continue to do that throughout the duration of the season.
Yeah, Mike Robb, and looking at Anthony Wayne just in general, a really, really strong team, getting a big win last night, I believe.
And taking care of business is everything, and then one thing that I've watched them play against Findlay, I went back and watched all the highlights I could about these two twins because I saw them get player of the week. I said, how do you give 2 players player of the week?
Right.
But you know what? They're so dominant, and it is like, a 2-for-1 special, being able to have them on the field. On the court, it makes a difference because, like you said, those back cuts, those nonverbal communications, being able to look over here and say, hey, you know what I mean by that. And then also, like Justin said, multiple sisters, a lot of communication, and this is a basketball team that's going to soar to the top of this league.
Yeah, and just watching them, they look so fluid on the court, Justin. I mean, just beautiful.
Pure.
Oh, yeah, they have the fundamentals. Pure. I'm always a huge fan of fundamentals when it comes to each and every sport. Like, you just look the part. Like, not everyone is going to the same talent level,
sure, but
you can have the right release on a jump shot. You can square your feet up to the basket. You can box out. I have my son's 12 years old and his team. Box out, please, box out, please, box out every time. I tell them you can't do it 9 out of 10 times. You got to box out every time. So having that discipline. There's certain things where you can accomplish certain things without any talent, showing up on time, putting in extra work, all those types of things, being coachable. All those things are what is kind of ingrained into this Anthony Wayne girls basketball program. That's a nod to Coach Jamie Carter and what she's been able to build there year after year after year, because that's how you build a program. I'm also a fan of, not just a flash in the pan. You got one senior who's awesome.
Yeah, right.
It's, what are the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders doing when they come to watch the varsity and, I want to be a part of that. You build that program, not just 1 or 2 years.
Yes. Well, congratulations to Leah and Mallory Pike on being the Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. If you guys want to vote for this week's Player of the Week poll, make sure to check out our Twitter, 10:30 p.m. Friday night. That poll runs through Monday at noon. Let your voice be heard. All right, let's jump in now to our teams to watch for this season. Justin, I'm going to start with you. What are your top 5 teams you're looking at with this season, girls and boys?
Okay, boys, I'll list them off here. St. John's, coming off a Final Four appearance. They got some places, some people to replace on there. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Whitmer, a bunch of transfers. Coach Anthony Stacy, I think they got to prove it in the postseason. They haven't been able to do that in recent years. They got to prove it. Southview is the top division team within the Cardinal division of the NLL. Micah Bay is a key player for them. How did they improve from last year as the favorite? Their football team was the favorite and the winner in the Cardinal division. Can their basketball team do it as well? Start with Coach Matt Wortham. They beat Rogers earlier this season. And then Emmanuel Christian, Seth Harris's first season coming from Stritch to Emmanuel Christian. No Jerry Easter Jr. this year. He is off to the Indiana school, prep school, in regards to where he could be going for college and then possibly the NBA. And then on the girls' side, Perrysburg, Fremont Ross, Rogers, Central Catholic, and Toledo Christian. I always like what Todd Sims does. He's just so consistent, gets the most out of his players. Juan Vela in his 14th season with Fremont Ross. They got Destiny Robinson, a star player. They're new in the NLL league. How can they get the job done? Lamar Smith at Rogers, looking up at Start. Start knocked him off already this season, but can Lamar Smith with some top-tier talent get his team back to the top of the City League? Central Catholic, Terry Mernon, the new head coach there in his first year. They got some talent there with Brooklyn Vaughn. And then Tim Winsink took his team to the state title game. Mackenzie Royal Davis is transferred from Toledo Christian to Whitmer, but they still got Kendall Braden. She's a future UT Rocket.
Yes.
They got a lot to prove, and they test themselves with non-conference games outside of the TAC every season, and it paid off last year, getting this close.
So close.
We'll see how they do this year.
I like it. Mike Rob, what you got?
Hey, just taking down the list, I mean, a lot of the teams are similar there for Justin, but one team I'm looking at, I watched the Lima Senior play against Bowser. Bowser is a sneaky dark horse type of a basketball team. So watch the Bowser boys. They got a lot of good physical size bodies. They put up a lot of points, 71 points on Lima Senior, and they can score. But Lima Senior did put up 100 points. It's still a 30-point loss. But they are a team to watch. And then on the flip side over there on Bowser, their girls basketball squad is pretty good. I'm watching them, Tiffany Blackman, their new head coach. She's got those girls playing well. They're 2-1. To get the season going, and this is a team that I kind of like. And then Lima Senior, again, Sean Foster, one of the top point guards in the state. He is just dominant. You got Cotton over there. He's a 6'5" shooter, and he put 25 up in the first half versus Bowser. So you got pure scorers. You got guys that can handle their business. Anthony Wayne and Start Girls are two teams that you just got to keep your eye on. And you talked about Kendall Braden. She's just a dog. Yep. Total package. Yeah. I mean, I watched her play some basketball, but they also got a pretty good point guard as well. I'm slipping her last name. I just watched the highlights on BCSN last night versus St. Ursula, and she's pretty good. They got a nice point guard as well to collaborate. Destiny Robinson, obviously Fremont Ross. And then looking at Whitmer, you talked about, the post, how they're doing all these transfers. And I thought when you're saying in the post, that's where they got to prove it at. Can Whitmer get it done in the post? We know they got 2 Division I wing players / guards. But what are they going to do down low, and can they make a nice postseason run team to watch? And then obviously Brooklyn Vaughn, one of the top girls in this area, period. She's just a dominant dog in the paint, and she also gets rebounds.
All right, I like it. These are teams to pay attention to this season. So as we get rolling here, let's talk about Kendall Braden and Toledo Christian. Let's do a little recap of last week when Ottawa Hills and Toledo Christian faced off. Toledo Christian got the big 53-32 win, and they extend their TAC win streak to 41 straight.
Yeah, I mean, a decade of dominance, basically, or maybe slightly less than that, but Coach Tim Winsink has delivered a program over there, and they consistently churn out top-tier talent. He's a guy, in my opinion, who maximizes the roster talent, and some years it might be elite, sometimes middle of the road, but they're going to get the most out of it, and that's what coaching is all about, and then buying into what they're doing on a night in and a night out basis. I've been to some of their practices over the years. They're putting it in, the effort in early morning workouts, and when other teams might not be putting in the work, Toledo Christian continues to do that. As I mentioned, they'll test themselves outside of the non-conference with some holiday tournament teams and some of the games and the tournaments that those are played across the state. They'll go on the road and play those tough teams to get them battle tested. Some of those other teams or players on that team, Mike Robbie, you mentioned Kendall Braden, but then Maya Welburn, Ava Nietzsky, junior Grace Fortney, sophomore Reagan Markley. So a number of those players are going to contribute. But yeah, 41, and that's why they have to test themselves outside of the TAC, because the caliber of teams that they're going against in their conference just isn't what it once was. Not necessarily sure why that is the case in regards to maybe some of the coaching turnover on the girls' side within the TAC. But Toledo Christian is a bona fide top-tier team in our area.
100%. Quick thoughts, Mike Robb, and Toledo Christian here?
Hey, you know what? And you did mention in this Wellborn, she was the one that had a lot of dominant game up on the arc, and that's where you need somebody to be able to force the ball, force turnovers, because you know what what Braden can do down low. So this is going to be a fun team to watch. And then Ottawa Hills, watching that game there, I just felt like the energy is kind of there, but this team is just OP. They're overpowered.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how both of these squads do moving forward here in the 2023 high school basketball season. All right, let's jump in now for some hockey in our clip of the week. All right, welcome into our clip of the week here, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson this week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. I mentioned this is, a mainly basketball show moving forward. We got to give some love to some hockey this past week as we take a look at this play here. Last week, St. John's was up 5-2 with 2 minutes left in the game over Perrysburg. But watch what happens. Perrysburg gets one goal, they get another, and they just surgical end to this game right here. Just unbelievable right here, Justin. This is just this is crazy.
You play till the final whistle until you see 3 zeros on the board. But yeah, hats off to Perrysburg. I mean, they stayed with it. Those weren't like egregious errors by St. John's by any means. Some of the high school football clips where it's like, hey, go tackle a dude, and that play doesn't happen. They're playing defense, and then the goalie is trying. Like it's not just like, here you go, here's the goal. I mean, so congrats to Perrysburg. We put this one down on a potential nominee for BCSN Honors Game of the Year in regards to the comeback.
Yeah, and you look at that, and the one thing I see is 2.5 minutes left when this run gets going, or 2 minutes and 15 seconds. The number one thing is you can't play if you're St. John's to protect your lead. You got to play to win the game. Right. And right now they're playing on their heels, and they're allowing this team to just rally back and gain momentum after momentum. I mean, that's 4 straight points. You got to be careful there. That's the locker room talk, and they're going to probably come out a whole different team going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Congratulations to Perrysburg right there. If you want to see more highlight clips just like this, then make sure you follow us on our TikTok. It's at BCSN Sports. Help us get to 10,000 followers. We post highlight clips just like this every single week. All right, real quick, let's mention here, we're back into the basketball season, which means the Unison Health Student Section of the Week is back and underway. And for the first week of the Unison Health Student Section of the Week, Northview are coming away with the victory. We are going to bring you guys the beautiful chain that we got. It's the battle for the chain here in the basketball season. So make sure you send in your photos and videos at BCSN Sports and hashtag SSOTW for a chance to win. All right, let's move quickly now. Let's quickly take a look at this Findlay at Whitmer girls basketball match coming up this week. Findlay 3-1, Whitmer 4-0 in the season. Justin, what are we looking at in this matchup here?
Leon Kennard for Whitmer, second-year head coach. They beat Perrysburg on Tuesday on the road. They got the transfer Mackenzie Royal Davis, so they are looking to prove that they are a top contender in the league. They've already done it by beating Perrysburg thus far. Findlay on the other side, 6th-year coach Brian Rosendale lost to Anthony Wayne earlier this week, and they got Caitlin and Madeline Steck-Schulte both putting up big points earlier this week. They're going to rely upon them all season long. Who wins? I'd say Whitmer has the advantage.
All right, Mike Robb, what you thinking here?
Yeah, I think you're looking at the same thing watching Findlay play earlier. I think that this Whitmer football season just ended.
Basketball.
Sorry, with this basketball team, one thing that's important is that down low, Royal Davis, she just gets it done. I mean, I haven't seen anybody that can stop her. You're going to have to put 2 or 3 players on her, maybe play a condensed zone down low. But if you do that, you're going to leave people on the outside like Jada and Madison who can put points up in buckets in a hurry.
Yeah, Whitmer averaging 53 points per game on offense and only allowing 29 points Mackenzie Royal-Davis averaging 16 points per game. I mean, Whitmer just looking like a really strong team right now.
Yeah, it's a team that you're going to have to play 4 quarters against, and if you're going to go out there and play against them, you got to really have a game plan for Royal-Davis, because down in the post, she is a beast and she won't be stopped.
All right, I like it. It's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out. So let's jump in now to our Game of the Week preview. All right, welcome into our Game of the Week preview, brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. This week, St. John's at St. Francis, 7:30 p.m. live on the community channel. This week, we got Walleye and Game Day Nation going on this week, so you can catch this game live, 7:30 p.m. on the community channel, as well as the BCSN app. St. John's, St. Francis, both of these squads moving into a new league this year. Obviously, last year in the track, that is no longer, so now they're in the Catholic High School League. CJ Hornbeek graduating from St. John's, no longer there, looking for somebody else to take over that role of being a lead scorer. It's going to be a really interesting game here. Justin, what are we looking at?
Yeah, CJ Hornbeek averaged 20 points per game last year, so he was the clear-cut guy when the game's on the line. Let's find a way to him, get the ball, create a shot, win the game, tie the game, what have you. I don't think you're going to see that this year. I think you're going to see a lot more balanced scoring attack. Jalen Murphy, Joseph Taylor, Race Kowalczyk, all guys who can fill up but still distribute the ball a little bit more. I think each of those guys will have opportunities to be the guy on a night-to-night basis. But with St. Francis, Jamie Kaczmarek in the third year, they've taken incremental steps each and every year, which you would expect to see from a top-tier coach like him. He worked wonders at Cardinal Stritch, got them down to the Columbus for the state Final Four. He has the capability, in my opinion, to build a program like that long-term. I don't think they're getting there this year, but I think they're going to be a better team than they were last year. They got Logan and Alan Horton, transfers from Northview. Jamison Heck, who's been there, seems like he's been there forever. He's a junior. It's because he played as a freshman.
Yep.
And he looked like a freshman, and his body is filled out, as you would expect to see as a teenager growing up. So he will be a key player for them. I think he's already hit a game-winning basket against a St. Mary's team earlier this year. Elvis Soroka is another key player who has some varsity experience. So I think both of these teams are going to be looking up at Orchard Lake St. Mary's in their league, in the Detroit Catholic League, like we mentioned, a new league for them in the basketball season as well, just like football from the fall. But I think St. John's may have an advantage in this one, even though it's on the road. I think that place is going to be packed. We're talking about a rivalry game. We're clearly done from football. We're transferring into basketball, so people just get in the mindset of a winter sports indoor. We're at the court. So I think that game could be big. Josh Linke, Otsego coach, leaving Otsego for football, going to St. Francis. Maybe Coach Linke is in the gymnasium on Friday night.
We'll
see.
He's going to try to get them Horton brothers to play some football.
I bet you. But congratulations to Coach Linke on getting that job. I know he was really wanting that opportunity with the Knights, and he got it. So maybe they play out and ball out for their new head football coach. But I'm looking forward to this game. This is an early test to kind of see what you got from the get-go.
Yeah, a test for sure, and on the defensive side, because I'm just a defensive guy no matter what sport it is. Sure. I like low scores and guys that's physical and scrappy, and that's what you're going to get from Taylor and Haywood for St. John's, and that's what's going to be the key, because you got two guards on the other side with Soroka and Heck. Those guys play really well, but down low, obviously the Horton brothers, they can get it done because they're forces. So this is going to be a game of attrition with St. John's. I feel like this is a basketball team. They play well. They got probably a little bit more continuity, but, you look at it, obviously the last year, Kaczmarek got the overtime victory on this team, so they're going to be looking to avenge that. So this rivalry is definitely reignited. I believe St. Francis have won only 4 times out of the past 12 meetings, so it's going to be an interesting battle here.
All right, well, you guys can catch that game Friday, 7:30 p.m. on the community channel, but we got more games coming up this week. Justin, why don't you quickly fly through what we got here?
Full screen. Yes, sir. There we go. We'll mention that game again. All these games on the app. All the games that are on TV are also on the app. Start at Rogers Key City League matchup there, Rossford and Maumee. It's a new look, another new league, Maumee in the Northern Buckeye Conference, so we're looking forward to that. Eden at Toledo Christian, girls side, Springfield, Fremont, Ross. Springfield lost a ton of talent from last year's team. Finley at Whitmer, Clay at Southview, and then Ottawa Hills, Northwood. So games that you can tune in on Friday night, plus Game Day Nation, Joel, Rhett, and Dion.
All right. We are ready for this. We got a bunch of action on the court this Friday. Make sure you tune in. Those games starting the tip-off at 7:15, some of them 7:15, 7:30.
Gotta bring a basketball.
Gotta get a basketball.
Man, we're already missing it. Nah, it's all right. We'll be back next week. Make sure you tune in Wednesday, December 13th at 4 p.m. on BCSN. We can't wait for that. We'll see you then.